We are on worksheet 11.5b, and we are multiplying polynomials. All right, so basically we just distribute everything, and when you have a binomial multiplied by another binomial, you're going to have four things: the 2x times two different terms, and the -1 times two different terms. Most of the time, you'll end up with some like terms you need to combine and finish off at the end. So I'm going to start by writing my answer over here, combine, and then I'll put my answer here. However you can squeeze it in is fine though. So the 2x has to get multiplied by the 3x, so that's 6x. And then the 2x gets multiplied by 2, and so that is 4x. And I already made a mistake, hopefully you caught that. 2x times 3x, there's an x and an x, so that's actually x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. Then I also need to take the -1 and multiply it by both of them, creating another two terms here. So I get -3x and -2. Now I can combine my like terms. The 6x squared and the -2, those don't have any like terms to combine with, but I do have a 4x minus a 3x, so that's a 1x, positive x. So my final answer, 6x squared comes down. I have a 1x and -2. Number 2, 7a times 3a is 21a squared, right? A times a. 7a times 5, positive 35a. -6 times 3a, -18a. -6 times 5 is -30. So the middle terms will combine, and that is 17a. So bring down 21a squared, positive 17a minus 30. So I just did 35 minus 18 to get positive 17a for my middle term there. Number 3, starting off with the 4c. So I'm going to get 8c squared, and then I'm going to get -8c. Then multiply the -7. So I get -14c. And then I'm going to get positive -7 times -2, 14. Those will combine, -22c. So my final answer, bring down the c squared term. -22c is the combination, plus 14. First term, 6d squared. Second term, 48d. Third term, 7d. Combined, that'll be 55d. And last term, 56. So put it all together, 6d squared plus 55d plus 56. Now we've got e squareds, and e squared times an e squared is e to the fourth. So first term, 15e to the fourth. Second term, 6 times 5, 30, and then the e squared just tags along. Third term is going to be negative 4 times 3, 12, e squared. So these two will go together. 30 minus 12, that'll end up being an 18e squared. And negative 24. So final answer, 15e. I noticed I wrote an F here instead of a 4. So what happens when you're trying to talk and write at the same time. So e to the fourth plus 18e squared minus 24. All right. First term, it's going to be an f squared times an f. This has a 1f on it. So that's going to be f to the third when I multiply. So it is 4f to the third times a -1 will be a -4f squared. 8 times f, positive 8f. And then multiplying here, -8. Now take a look. These are all different. There is nothing to combine. So don't combine here just because that's been your habit. F to the third, F squared, and regular F. None of those are like terms. You cannot combine any of them. It stays like this, 4 terms. This would be 3x squared, x times x. This would be negative. Now the x and the y don't combine, so don't start adding exponents. They just stay separate, so it's 4xy. Right here now, positive 6, and again, xy. These are like terms. They both have xy. So these will go together. Negative 4 plus 6 is positive 2xy. And I've got one more, multiplication. That's a y times a y. This will be a y squared. And it's negative 8y squared. Final answer, 3x squared. This was a positive 2, so plus 2xy minus 8y squared. Okay, number 8. Multiply g times g is g squared. 10g squared. Multiply here, it's positive 15. Letters are different, so they just combine gh. Multiplying here, this will be a negative 2. Variables combine, gh. And then last but not least out here, h times h will be h squared. So it's a negative 3h squared. These middle ones will go together because they're both a gh. 15 minus 2 is a 13 gh. So it is 10g squared, positive 13, so plus 13 gh minus 3h squared. All right, getting into some fractions, and now we have trinomials, so I'm going to try and make it a little trickier on you. We'll try and squeeze this in. We may need to go to a separate sheet of paper here. All right, so now we're going to end up with 6 terms. The w times 3 things, and then the 3/4 times 3 things. And then we're going to combine like terms. So we need to make sure we have 6 terms, though, when we're done distributing, and then combine some things. So first, it's the w times everything in the other set of parentheses. So w times this is 8w to the third, add a w. W times this is negative 16. A w and a w is w squared. And then w times 1 is just w. All right, now we're going to take the negative 3/4 and multiply it times all 3 terms. So to make it simple, I'll do it in the calculator for you, but you could definitely do this in your head. 8 divided by 4 first, that's 2 times the 3. Okay, but negative 3/4 times 8. It's going to get you negative 6. So I'm going to try and squeeze here, negative 6, and there's a w squared on it. 3/4 times 16. First of all, it's a negative and a negative, so that's a positive. Again, you could do 16 divided by 4 is 4, times 3 is 12. But if we're going to punch this all in here, it's negative 3/4 times negative 16, so positive 12. And that's going to have a w. And then times 1 is just going to be itself, so minus 3/4. Okay, a couple things that can go together now. I've got a squared here and a squared here. And I've got a w here and a w here. So I need to make sure those all combine. So nothing to combine with the third power, so it's 8w to the third. Squareds comes next, negative 16, negative 6, that's negative 22 w squared. Positive 1, positive 12, that's positive 13 w. And the minus 3/4 just tags on the end. Okay, number 10. The way we did this in our notes is we saved this one for last. So we're going to go ahead and multiply the binomial by the trinomial. And then that answer that we get, when that's all said and done, we'll multiply by 1/2k. So a little bit longer here. All right, so we'll squeeze this in. We're going to start off here, 8 times all 3 of these things. So first, 8k times k squared. That's 8k to the third. 8k times negative 2, so negative 16, and it's a k and a k, so k squared. 8k times 10, that's positive 80k. Now here, negative 4 times k squared, that's negative 4k squared. Negative 4 times negative, so positive 8k. And negative 4 times 10 is negative 40. Now we're going to multiply it by the 1/2, but I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms first. So this is my only 8k to the third. It's only k to the third. I've got a negative 16k squared and a negative 4k squared. That's a negative 20k squared. 80 and 8 is positive 88k, and I still have a minus 40. Okay, so now all of that is going to get multiplied by this. We're going to bring it down, a 1/2 k. Well, a 1/2 k is nice. You're just taking half of the number, and then the k is going to get just added on. So I'm going to go ahead and go right to my final answer here. Multiplying here, the 8 becomes 4 because you multiplied by a half. K times k is k to the fourth. All right, the negative 20 becomes negative 10. K times k squared is k to the third. Half of 88 is positive 44. 2k's is k squared. Half of negative 40 is negative 20, and this k does need to tag along. No like terms there, so that is done. All right, next one. Now again, you can do these in any order that you want. So if you wanted to, instead of saving the r for last, you could distribute the r here and then take that binomial and multiply times this. So just to be consistent, I'm going to continue to do it the way we just did it, but just know that you can do it in a different order here. So we'll save r for later. Right now we're going to do s times s, which is s squared, s times negative 3r, that's negative 3, and those are different letters, so it's just rs. If you put sr, that's fine. Now I got to multiply this times both, so this is a positive 2rs. These will combine, and this is an r times an r, so an r squared. 2 times negative 3, that's negative 6r squared. Okay, you might as well combine like terms right now. It's a negative 3 and a 2. That's going to be a negative 1. So s squared, a negative 1 rs minus 6r squared. And you can't forget to now bring the r down and multiply by that. All right, you're going to get an rs squared. When you multiply those together, they just combine. Minus r and r is r squared, and the s stays. And over here, we're going to get an r to the third now. The number stays negative 6, but it's r to the third. All right, number 12, nothing extra here, nice. So we're going to multiply 3 of them and 3 of them and then combine. So 7j to the third. Positive 21j squared. Negative 42j. And then this one, negative j squared, negative 3j, positive 6. This is my only j to the third. I've got a 21j squared and a negative j squared. So it's negative 1. So 21 minus 1, that'll be 20 positive j squared. And then I have these two j's, a negative 42 and a negative 3. That's a negative 45j. And I still have plus 6. Okay, 13, I'll be consistent, so I'm going to multiply these first and then multiply by the m. So that's m to the third. So minus m squared, 2m, negative 2. Nothing to combine. So all of this now is going to get multiplied by m. That's m to the fourth minus m to the third. That was from this. Now times 2m. 2m squared times negative 2, negative 2m. So that one looked like it was going to be longer than it was. Not too bad. Okay, here. 8n squared. Negative 3n. Negative 48n. Positive 18. So if you want to, you can put these together. So that's negative 51n. Bring this down. Bring this down. Now we're going to times this by 2n. Right? And when we do that, it's going to be n times n squared, n times n. There are not going to be any like terms here. So we can go ahead and go straight to our final answer. So multiply. That's 16n to the third power. Multiply negative 102 n squared. Multiply 36n. All right, and now we have some space, so I'm going to take advantage of it. If you have 3 binomials, you might as well just take care of the first one and then multiply your answer by this one. So I'm going to go here. 3q squared. Multiply here. Positive 21q. Now don't go and multiply towards the next one. Stay right here. Finish this binomial times the binomial. We'll take that answer, that product, and then times it by this one. So I've done the 2 for the 3q. Now I need to do the negative 1. So that'll be a negative q and a negative 7. If you want to combine this, 21 minus 1, that's 20q. Bring everything else down. And now that's my answer to this multiplication. So I still need to times it by this. And so again, you're going to get 6 things. Now, if you go from left to right, it'd be this times 2 things, this times 2 things, this times 2 things. That's fine. Or you can go the other way. The 5q times 3 things, the 9 times 3 things. In the end, you're doing all the same 6 multiplication problems and then combining. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. So I'm just going to move from left to right. So I'm going to multiply here first. So that's 15q to the third. Then I'm going to multiply out here. That's 27q squared. Now the 20 gets both of them. That's 100q squared. And that is 180q. And then last but not least, right here, negative 35q, negative 63. Okay, I have q squareds to go together. That's 127q squared. And then I have 180q minus 35q. That's 145q. Nothing else to combine. That's my final answer. 15q to the third plus 127q squared plus 145q minus 63. All right, one more. Same idea. P squared, negative 7p, p, negative 7. Combine, it's negative 6p. Okay, now we're going to multiply times the other one, bring it down. 2p to the third. 3p squared. Negative 12p squared. Negative 18p. So I've got 4 of them. 2 from this, 2 from this. I need 2 from this. So negative 14p. Negative 21. Combine. It's negative 9p squared. Combine. It's negative 32p. And that's my full sentence right there. So 2p to the third minus 9p squared minus 32p minus 21.